Are you just starting out as a gardener? Maybe you've grown a couple of things and it made you feel like you failed. You weren't able to keep the plants alive. I've been there, it sucks. But what if I told you maybe it was because of the plants you were growing? So before you waste your time, your money, and your hope, I'll run you through some of the easiest vegetables to grow as a beginner gardener. And trust me, if you follow these steps, your salads and your garden are going to thank you this summer. Lettuce, I would say, is the set it and forget it salad machine. I swear, last summer we had lettuce breakfast, lunch, dinner. I swear we even had a dessert that had lettuce in it. We had so much lettuce. Lettuce is one of the easiest things to grow. It's literally just leaves. You need no gardening smarts to grow it. Just keep it watered because it's obviously mainly water. And one of the best things about lettuce, doesn't even need that much space. As well as that, it germinates fast. You'll see tiny baby lettuce sprouting in just about a week. You'll also be able to harvest it in as little as 30 days. No waiting months and months for results. And it'll grow back after cutting. It is a never-ending salad bar, and here's how to grow it. Sprinkle seeds in any container or garden bed. One of the more difficult parts of lettuce, I will say though, is the kind of size of the seed. Very small seed, so you've got to be very careful. You can use seed tape, by the way. No, that's not something that you get from Blockbuster. It's just seed in paper tissue. Put that in, keep it wet. Those will be coming up. And snip leaves when they get big enough, and they'll keep growing back. And here's a pro tip. Grow different types. Butterhead, romaine, red leaf. Actually, red leaf do better in summer as well. You'll have them for longer. And the best part about growing a variety, your salads will never get boring. Number 2 is something that I wish I enjoyed more because they grow so easily. Radishes. They really are the blink and they're ready veggie. It's seriously that fast. As I say, I didn't really enjoy them. I wasn't a big fan of them. If you are going to go for a type, go for the French breakfast. They look pretty. And radishes will sprint to the finish line. They will be ready before you know it. They'll go from a tiny seed to crunchy perfection in 25 days. That quick. Radishes are super low maintenance. They don't need perfect soil or constant care. They're also great for small spaces. You can even grow them in tiny containers just for the tops of them. And they are pretty cold hardy. Grow them early in spring or late in fall without worrying about frost. And as they grow pretty quick, you can get one last crop at the end of the season. And if you're not a big fan of radishes, as I said before, go for the French breakfast. It's a more mild flavour. And how to grow them? You can plant the seeds directly in the soil, no transplanting needed. Thin them out once they sprout, so each radish has room to grow, and keep them watered, but don't drown them. They're not a big fan of hot weather, so don't expect them to grow in the middle of summer. Plant them when it's still cool, and they'll reward you with crisp, peppery roots. And they'll go pretty well with that lettuce you just grew as well. This is something that I've had in my summer garden since day one. They are so easy to grow. Number 3, green beans, or purple if you want to get fancy. Go for those. And the best thing about green beans is you don't really need to start them inside. You can just put them in the ground. Green beans grow fast, and they'll keep producing for weeks. They don't really need all that much space, so they're perfect for balconies or small gardens. And they will literally improve the soil. They add nitrogen to the soil, so when they die and you take them out, leave the roots in the soil so your next crops will have a little boost. And they are easy to grow. If you've got space, grow pole beans. They climb. Even in small spaces, this will work because, well, they're growing vertically. If you don't have all that much room, go for bush beans. They stay small. And give them a trellis or a stick to climb, and they will go wild. And just a quick bonus tip here, harvest often. The more you pick, the more they will produce. Let's just get into number 4. It's really one of my most favorite veggies to grow in summer. Zucchini. Or courgette. Although because of how I sound, I really should be saying courgette. But where I live, we call it zucchini. Either way, I hope you like it because if you're growing it, you're going to have a lot of it. Zucchini plants are kind of like that weird ex. You know, that one that didn't really know about personal space? That's zucchinis. Once they start growing, they will take over a little bit. So maybe this is one where you need a bit more space. One day you'll see a tiny little squash. The next day, it's a baseball bat. It really is that quick. You really got to check those plants quite often.
These plants will produce a lot. And they are perfect for beginners as well. They are almost impossible to mess up. They're also great in recipes, which makes them one of the best veggies to grow. Grill them, roast them, even bake them into bread. I've dehydrated them in the past as well. I don't really recommend that. You don't get much, so don't bother with that, but you can do it if you want. And when you're growing these, you want to give them space because these plants get huge. You can even grow them vertically as well. I've done it once or twice, but as I have a little bit of room in my front yard, I just let them go.
And a little tip with those zucchini plants, you can hand pollinate them. So you will find the male flowers, they have no fruit behind them. The female one will have a tiny little zucchini behind it. What you can do is get a little Q-tip or take that flower off, brush where you see the pollen on the male flower, and then take it over to the female flower, and then you're helping the plants, you know.
Oh yeah.
Do the job.
And harvest them before they get too big, because small zucchinis taste way better. And just a little warning with this. If you plant more than one zucchini plant, be prepared to start leaving zucchinis on your neighbours' doorsteps, giving them to everyone you see.
Number 5 is one that sometimes I eat, sometimes I just use it to make the garden look nicer. It's Swiss chard. In my experience, Swiss chard is pretty much indestructible.
It looks fancy as well. Those rainbow coloured stems, gorgeous, and that's why sometimes I just grow it in the garden. While Swiss chard can tolerate summer heat, it does grow better in cool temperatures. It'll do best and not get so bitter when temperatures don't really exceed 23 Celsius or 75 Fahrenheit. But that's where shade is your friend. It's also super nutritious. It's packed with vitamins A, C, and K. I think most of those are good, so that's good. And you take off the outer leaves first so it keeps producing just like lettuce. And if it does get too hot, give it a little shade and it will keep thriving. And now on to what's a little more tricky for beginner gardeners to grow.
Some vegetables are absolute nightmares for beginners, and I've been there, and I don't want you to be there. Carrots, well, they take forever. And there's a lot of work in knowing when to thin or when to harvest, and the seeds are so small. Again, use seed tape there, absolutely fine to do that. I do that in probably half of my carrot beds. I would also say broccoli, it needs a certain type of weather, and also it takes a lot of space for just one harvest. If you've got the space, go for it. It's so fun to grow, especially types like Romanesco. I love growing those. Onions, I would say as well, they seem pretty easy. If you're starting them from seed, they take months, they take forever. There's also pest problems, there's also disease problems, onion white rot, who knows what's in your ground. But if you do want to do onions and you're not quite sure if you want to do it from seed, there's no problem doing it from sets either. It makes life easier, and we all need a bit of that, don't we? And buying plants from the nurseries to put in your garden is fine. I do it all the time. If one tomato plant doesn't come up, well then I'll just go and buy one that's already going, one that's looking all right. In some of those cases, you might have to sacrifice on the varieties you really want. There's less available if you're not growing from seed, but there's still great varieties out there. I will find Sun Gold at the nursery every year, which, if you don't know, is just the best, in my opinion anyway, cherry tomato. Try it, you'll enjoy it. And if not, try another one. I do think that this is one of the most important parts of your gardening journey. Picking the right plants. Because think about it, if you plant something and it dies immediately, are you going to enjoy that? You're going to feel like gardening isn't for you. And honestly, gardening is for everyone. But if you plant something and it thrives, boom, instant confidence boost, right? It's like going to the gym and a couple of days later you start to see yourself looking a bit skinnier. I know I need that right now. Winter's cold though. But that's why picking beginner-friendly veggies is so important. It makes all the difference. And yes, you can throw some challenges in there. Go for it. Grow what you enjoy, but also grow stuff that's easy to grow so you still want to keep doing it. All right, so now you know exactly what to grow in your first garden, and I promise you, it won't be a total disaster. Lettuce gives you quick, fresh greens. Radishes grow insanely fast. You're going to get your instant gratification there. Green beans, they are reliable and productive, And zucchini basically grows itself. But be ready to give it to your neighbours. And Swiss chard is tough and also beautiful. So start with those if you want your garden to be fun and rewarding rather than frustrating. If you haven't already, like, subscribe, and tell me if you're a beginner gardener and what you're planning to grow this year, even though it looks like this outside in our cold climates. I want to hear from you. And click this video on the screen right now. That is the one that YouTube thinks you're going to enjoy. So watch it.